Hello my strong friends, welcome back to episode 4 of Zero to the Platform series. And y'all, I know it's been taking me a long time to do these videos because they're different, they're a little hard to edit, and I just had a lot going on. So know that once I finish this series, the intention is to make it so that powerlifting question in regards to competition will be answered and on my channel. So have no fear, even if you're not ready to compete now, maybe you will be in a couple of weeks, and you'll have a library of resources for you that are like easily laid out and thorough. That's the big reason why they're taking so long for me to make. Anywho, this 4th episode, I was planning on talking about attempt selection. I had a few people ask about a meet recap for me. I did a little meet recap on Instagram if you haven't seen it. Those videos somehow got like hundreds of thousands of views, which is not normal. So I will provide attempt selection video in tandem with my meet recap. You also learn like what I was thinking during my attempt selection, what I recommend for lifters to think about during attempt selection, so these fit nicely well together. And this series, we haven't really gotten to see me. If you haven't checked out the other videos in the Zero to Platform series, make sure you check those out. I may refer to some things that might seem confusing to you, but if you check out those previous videos and watch those, your questions will probably be answered, okay? So I've actually presented on attempt selection a few times. The title of my presentation is No One Cares About Your Opener, and other lessons that I learned before I got good at competing. If you don't know anything about my previous competition history, and that's like before YouTube time, YouTube for me time, my first meet, I think I went 5 for 9, and then I ended up going 7 for 9 my next meet, and then I went 5 for 9 again. I wasn't good at the act of competing. I just wasn't good at competing, which is a skill and it takes time to, you have to practice it and you have to just get better at it. But I think had I had this video that I'm about to make for you, I would not have gone 9 for 9. I had a really like big ego and I still do. You know, that's like more in check now. So if you have a really huge ego like I did, you may watch this and not pay attention to anything that I'm saying or listen to any of my tips, but hey, at least you're watching, I guess. I used to think a lot of weird things when I was competing. My ego was big, so I want to have a big opener so that like my competitors are like, oh, who's this girl? Doesn't make any sense. Now I know that no one cares about your opener. I used to think that going 9 for 9 meant that you weren't trying hard enough. No one cares about your opener is the moral of this story, so if that's the one lesson that you take away from this video, then my job is 5% done. Powerlifting meets are broken out into, this has already been explained in other videos. If you don't know how their powerlifting meets work, then check out the other videos in this series. So you have 3 attempts. The first attempt is your opener. This is a chance for you to get on the board, start to build some confidence. If you've competed before, you probably know that at your first squat, like your nerves are the most high. So the opener is a chance to kind of calm those nerves, just get on the board, don't bomb out. A good rule of thumb is something that you can hit for a triple, and that's like a triple on your worst day, not a triple on your best day, like not your PR triple. The reason that we open so much lighter is because there are so many different variables that you'll have to deal with on competition day. If you're cutting weight, judges are gonna be kind of strict. Maybe judges are calling something that you've never seen before. That could happen, hopefully it doesn't happen, but it's a possibility. Get on the board with your first attempt. No one cares how heavy your opener is, especially no one cares if you bomb out. Lifters who miss their opener are like way more likely, obviously, to miss another attempt later on in the meet. And the goal with powerlifting is to really build your biggest total. The second attempt, if you've ever seen me at a powerlifting meet coaching someone, I always say like set yourself up. So the second attempt, I like to view it as a stepping stone or like another building block to set myself up for a big third attempt. Usually it's not the time to hit a PR. Maybe it's the time to match a meet PR if you're a more experienced competitor. Or yeah, it all depends on how fast your opener was and if that was feeling good. And then finally we get to the third attempt, and this is your opportunity to hit either meet PR or an all-time PR. That's the goal, right? Is to go into meet day and lift something you've never lifted before, that's gonna be the most fun. The best possible scenario is to go 9 for 9 and hit PRs and everything. That's like a A1 meet. For thirds, you do want to consider how fast your last attempt was, and if it was really fast, then maybe you do feel really good. You want to take a more aggressive jump, or if it's feeling really shitty, you still have an opportunity to build and add to that total, so take a more conservative third attempt, especially if it's squat or bench, knowing that you can get a little bit more aggressive with deadlifts, all depending on your goals, and we'll talk about that in a sec. In addition to third attempts, for more competitive or more experienced powerlifters, the third attempt can also serve as a strategic way to influence placing or hitting a qualifying total or Wilks. You'll also keep that in mind as you become more and more experienced. I like to recommend for new competitors to always think about building your biggest total and trying to hit as many lifts as possible and planning to hit all of your lifts. So experienced competitors will get a little bit more aggressive, and they'll think about, okay, who is in the rankings? What do I want to do at this meet? Who do I want to beat? Or what total do I need to hit to qualify for this more prestigious meet? And those are my general notes. Pretty standard, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, now is the part where I can talk about my personal meet recap for 2017 USA Powerlifting Raw Nationals. This competition for me was something that I had prepped for a long time. I probably recommend most people to compete twice a year rather than competing once a year. Definitely don't compete like 5 or 6 times a year. That's insane. I just had a crazy year of travel. I spent 3 months at the beginning of the year like not consistently training at all. So my prep for nationals was like 7 months long. Obviously that doesn't mean peaking. That just means focused training leading up to with the goal of nationals in mind. This meet I hadn't really hyped up on Instagram or social media just because I had other focuses. I had lifters there, competing there, so I was like really invested in their progress and what they were doing. I had other stuff going on. My life's been a little bit crazy, but whose hasn't? So this year was just more about lifting, trying to get to the gym. I only lifted 4 times a week throughout this entire prep, which I think is an adequate amount. Training, I don't want to say it took a backseat, but it wasn't the most important thing in my life. But I still got it done. I mean, if you're watching this, training is probably, like, if you're a human existing in the world, powerlifting training is probably not the most important thing in your life. So we're all in the same boat, right? So I'm just saying, the moral of that anecdote is that it doesn't have to be, in my opinion, I don't think it has to be like the most important thing, like take over your life to be a successful powerlifter. I don't think, and I would say most competitors would agree with that. Some of them are a little cuckoo, but hey, whatever it takes. For squat, I was feeling pretty good with squat throughout training. Finally, I had a couple years there where it was tough. So for my first, I took a confident opener. This is something I've hit in the gym for a triple, 281 pounds. Second was 5 kilo jump, 292 pounds was my second, which tied my old meet PR and then was a chance for me to build a bigger third, and attempt a new PR. So then we jumped another 5 kilos and I hit 303 pounds. Finally got that 300 mark on the board, which is totally what I wanted to do. One of my most popular videos is the Road to 300 video. Ended up hitting 315 in the gym. I lost some weight after that and went down from 156 pounds, I think I was, to now I compete at 138. I usually sit like 142 or 145. So I end up losing weight purposefully just because I wasn't feeling really healthy with that body weight. So finally I got back to 300. Thank God. I feel like everything else was going up, but it took forever to get back, like get that lift back. This meet was an opportunity for me to hit like some imperial unit PRs and benchmarks. So I ended up hitting 300 squat, 170 bench, and a 400 deadlift, and kind of hitting those benchmarks that have been on my mind. Not a huge thing to consider when you're thinking about hitting your meet, but if it makes it more fun, then just like go for it. In training, only really take 2.5 kilo jumps once I get to like 85% on bench press. So for me, I only make those jumps in competition. So I'm taking like 5 pound jumps For me to take a 10-pound jump at like 150 pounds, that's like a really high percentage for me. Usually my opener for bench press does not follow that hit something you can hit for an easy triple rule. Keep that in mind depending on where some of your lifts are. I just took like 2.5 kilo jumps to set myself up for a PR. My second attempt was a solid lift that tied my current meet PR and something that would set me up for a big third, just another 2.5 kilo jump. My third in both lifts were something that set me up for all-time PRs for squats, like all-time PR at this body weight. So that's like, you can't really ask for much more than that unless you project that you can hit a way bigger PR on meet day, but who can do that? But so for deadlift, this lift during warm-ups and for my first couple of attempts, it honestly wasn't really feeling good. The bar was kicking out, my positioning was feeling a little funky, but I was feeling like so hype and so good. I've never gotten this hype before in my life for a lift ever, and I was just feeling it. Like, you know, I was just like in the groove. I was listening to my Cardi B and I was listening to some Princess Nokia in my headphones, and I was just like had it on repeat and was really using this as an opportunity to, I don't want to say prove myself, but sort of prove myself, because I feel like people will be very quick to categorize me or see me on Instagram and categorize me as an Instagram lifter. And like, people have thrown some shade at me. And I mean, I'm not the best lifter in the world, but I feel like you should still respect any lifter in general, regardless of if they're Instagram famous or not. We're all gonna have haters, but I feel like some better lifters sometimes see that I'm more popular than them on Instagram, which is a lame thing to, you know, consider when you're thinking about other lifters. But yeah, I feel like I feel disrespect from some certain forums on Reddit, and you know, just a couple of other lifters throwing some shade here and there, which is fine. I understand people need to do that to make themselves feel better, but I was like kind of thinking about that as I was in the back, and it's like, no, Meg, this is what you do. Like, you are a power lifter. I'm not the best one, but fuck, I'm not that far away. I Wilks 430 points, and that's pretty dope. And if I would have thought of someone wilksing that like 1 year ago even, I would have thought that that would have been impossible for me to ever reach that point, and I would have been fucking impressed. And if I ever met someone as strong as me, I would be really impressed with their lifting. So I think I don't give myself enough credit because I read all this shit about me, or I look at other lifters. I'm always looking up. I'm never looking at people like not as strong as me and thinking about, oh, I wish I was like that, you know? So I'm always looking up and like looking forward to what is possible, which luckily in the 63 kilo class, we have a lot of inspiring people who are doing amazing things. So, you know, you're always looking up and you're really appreciating what you have, and I felt like this was my opportunity to kind of prove to myself that it's like, no, you can do this, and I can hit like some of those benchmarks. And I was happy that I did that, because for my third deadlift, I was so hyped. The hype was so real. And I hit 402, which is 182.5 kilos. Yeah, deadlifts weren't feeling the best, but I knew like we could put 500 pounds on the bar and I would have picked it up. So that was just my mindset where I was, and that's kind of what you hope for. So all in all, I finished with a 397.5 kilo total. Girl. I told you I hit my American benchmarks, but not my metric benchmarks. It was an 876 pound total with a 432 Wilks. This added 15 kilos or 33 pounds to my meet PR, and that's over 70 pounds up from 2015 nationals 2 years ago. 9 for 9 PRs across the board. That's a perfect day. Couldn't have asked for much more. I maybe had a little bit more on my squat, maybe, but you know, it's hard to like, you want to think about the total as a whole, because maybe if I went a little more ham on my squat, I may have not had that extra couple pounds in the deadlift. For my third deadlift, if you look real close, you can see the bar slipping out of my hands a little bit. Luckily, they didn't call any downward movement. I maybe got one red light, but I got that lift. Thank God, girl. It was all good. This video might be so long because it's kind of like 2 videos in one, but I hope that's okay. You guys asked for the meet recap. We'll see. I think I talked about all of the like meet day considerations. Biggest things are just to have a well-defined goal when you're approaching the meet. For me, it was just to hit PRs. I didn't really have a goal to like qualify for the Arnold or anything. I think the qualification was 420 for women. So we ended up hitting that on my second deadlift attempt. So that's why I was kind of like, let's go ham for the third deadlift, whereas we would have PR'd with a more conservative attempt. But I was just like, let's go. I'm ready. Because I really wanted to hit 4 on the platform on my meet. When you approach your meet, if you're an intermediate to advanced lifter, or when you get to this point, something to look forward to get to, you're gonna have like different layers of goals. You want to build your biggest total, but maybe when you show up, there's someone who's really competitive with you, and you can get more strategic with your attempts in hopes of beating them. We all have Instagram. We all know who's like what lifters are ranked close to us, if you're thinking about stuff like that. So, you know, you're never gonna show up and magic is gonna happen. Like, you're gonna magically be stronger than what you already are or what you train for. So, you know, that's where it's like, it's not a basketball game where you can come up with a different play that's gonna trick someone or something like that. So you can only really lift to the top of your strength level anyway. You can get a little strategic with attempt selection. You'll see a lot of strategy in certain classes at the top of the classes. You'll have different layers. Maybe it's to go 9 for 9, and then maybe it's to see if we can qualify for the Arnold. So you'll take certain attempts to qualify for bigger meets if that's something that you're interested in doing. But the goal there is to have a well-defined goal as you step into a meet. Your attempt selection should be very clearly dictated by your training, and like your training will project how well you're gonna do at the meet or what you're gonna hit at the meet. There's really little guessing. You can project with calculators what you can do, and you can reflect on how your training has been feeling and what you've hit in training to determine what is possible on meet day. Also consider meet day conditions. If it's your first meet, please do not cut weight. You want to go in and hit big lifts, right? You don't want to go in and feel like shit unless you're trying to qualify for something big. I mean, just don't worry about it, especially if you're not sitting at the weight like really close. If you're 2 pounds over, then just like stop drinking water at 6 p.m. the night before weigh-ins and you'll be fine. But yeah, like, don't cut weight. And if you are cutting weight, consider those meet conditions. They're probably gonna make you a little bit weaker. Unless you've competed a bunch of times and realized that a water cut doesn't really affect you that much. Next thing is have a plan A and plan B. This is where those layers of different goals come in. Plan A is like, everything's feeling great. I'm feeling great. Let's go stick to the plan. Plan B is, wow, that was slower than I thought it was. Let's take a little bit more conservative approach, and then trust the process. Like, have faith in your training. Know that your training is dedicated to set you up to peak you into that meet. If you don't have training dedicated to set you specifically up to peak at a meet and hit big lifts on meet day, hit me up on strongstrongfriends.com. We can customize a program option for you that will considers your actual meet day and your training, and we can also help you with attempt selection if you need it. strongstrongfriends.com. Thanks to Strong Strong Friends for sponsoring this video. Buy our swag and support the brand. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this meet recap. If all else fails, listen to Cardi B and you shall hit big lifts. Shout out to everybody who helped me on meet day and everybody who's there at nationals. Ryan, of course, Hanny, who was my coach throughout nationals prep and on meet day. It was really cool to have them like have my back. Shout out to my girls, Amanda Shea and Dana Lynn Bailey, who were in the back, just like we were vibing, and all of the 63 kilo women who were there. I finished in the 63 kilo class. I finished 16th, I think. 16th out of all of the 63 kilo women that were at nationals. Had I totaled that total like 2 years ago, girl, I would have been on the podium. So it just goes to show that women and people in general are just getting so much stronger, and powerlifting as a sport is just kind of leveling up each year. My intention with what I've been doing is to level up the sport of powerlifting and level up women's strength. And hey, if nationals is anything to do, is any like resemblance of my work in whatever I'm doing, then my job is done. Not doing much for my personal rankings, but hey, that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to be the best powerlifter in the world. I'm just here to inspire people to be more strong, okay? All right, this has been a fun rambling session. I hope you enjoyed it. You guys asked for me to give you a meet recap. I am not excited to edit this. Bye.